Awesome. We are here and looking good. And I think it is time. Look at that. Yes. Greetings and welcome everyone to another episode of the Health, Wisdom, and Wealth TV show. I'm VLYNN HAWKINS, your host, and I'm excited about our guest today and the subject matter that we'll be talking about, because one of the things that we are doing is helping you to understand more of the truth of what's out in the world about our health, about what we have available to us as it relates to our health. And today we're going to be talking about the newest technologies and the ups and downs of the miracles of stem cell therapies. If you've ever heard about what stem cell therapy is, who's having it, why, and what it's all about, we're going to get into that conversation today. So first, I want you to help me to welcome our guest, BHIMI CAYCE, who is an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur, if I might say so, an alternative health advocate, and a healthy stem cell therapies educator. She is executive director with a biotech firm in the regenerative sciences industry. And you can find more at this web address, and you can find more at one that we'll be sharing with you at a later point as well. So stay tuned. We'll also be posting any links and what have you after the interview so that you can find them at the bottom of the page. But right now, I want to say welcome to BHIMI CAYCE. And let's jump right in. Hi, BHIMI, how are you?
Hi, I am so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. Very excited to talk about this today.
Well, I'm very excited to talk about this with you as well, because let me tell you, there is so much that has occurred in the stem cell therapies scene over the past decade or so. And what people typically don't recognize is that, to everything that appears to be an invasive strategy for health, or one that actually creates more trauma in us than may even be necessary, people just don't understand all of that. And I'm excited that we're going to be in this conversation, because I do a lot of talking about using food as medicine. And food, I do believe, is like where we start with everything. But, we're humans and we've been on this journey called life. And speaking of which, let me just let our audience know a little bit about you. And that is that BHIMI CAYCE is the CEO of Conscious Living is Freedom, a collective consciousness, whole, healthy life advocate, an alternative health and healthy lifestyle advocate. She's a passionate transformational teacher and a student of mindfulness living. And she's our healthy lifestyle, our healthy stem cell therapies educator. She believes that the more we understand that everything is energy, that light frequencies that can help us heal ourselves and ripple out to also positively impact our planet, the more we can help heal ourselves and others. And BHIMI, thank you. Thank you for being here and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. And everything you said, it's so true. As the whole consciousness is evolving, our bodies are evolving and new technologies are coming in. So, it's not easy to keep up with everything. There's so much in so many different levels. So I'm really glad to be here and open up this conversation with you.
Well, thank you again. And for our audience's benefit, tell us a little bit more about you and your journey to being the healthy living advocate that you are today.
Okay, well, it's something that just kind of started within me when I was younger. I didn't really grow up that way. If you looked at my lifestyle, it wasn't at all healthy. But something happened when I got in my 20s, and I also kind of got on my spiritual path at that time. And I think all that together opened me up to a deeper understanding and looking at taking care of myself, body, mind, and spirit. And the way that evolved is, I lived in India for a while. I studied with a teacher. I traveled all over, and I started somehow just I was drawn into the health and wellness and alternative. I worked at a very kind of hippie-like health food store back in the 70s, and I became like the person to go to. I read the book Back to Eden, which was like the Bible back then, and everybody would come to me and say, well, what do I take for this? What do I take for that? All of a sudden, I became this expert, and it just grew from there, VLYNN, and I just started getting more interested in products and new technologies. And long story short, let's fast forward. In the early 2000s, I co-founded a healing center in Santa Monica, California. It was energetic, and we had various new technologies in each room, and people would go through these circuits of healing, preventative, and also with different conditions. And I represented a lot of products because I really did research. It was like fascinating to me to dive in and see, what this came from and how it was formulated, and really understand the science. So people trusted me when I would talk about something, because this is what my field had become.
That's amazing. I love that. And I could visualize you being in that space and in the store in the 70s. And, it's interesting how we find our way to the next thing that we are called to bring to the world. And I love that for you, it's stem cell therapy. I think that you have an amazing way of explaining it all. And, as a show host, I had to go back and do my own research and actually asking the question, what is stem cell therapy? And there are a few definitions of it, one of which is that it's regenerative medicine that promotes the repair response of the diseased, dysfunctional, or injured tissue using stem cells or their derivatives. And to really make the connection that it is also considered the next chapter in organ transplantation, and uses cells instead of donor organs, which are limited in supply. I mean, we hear all the stories about people on the organ donor list for years and decades sometimes, if they live that long. But tell us what your definition of stem cell therapy is.
Well, you did a pretty good job, I have to say. It
Thank
really
you.
is regenerative medicine. And I'm going to go a little deeper into this to show the viewers, more about the stem cells, because there are various stem cells, and people are probably not aware of the different kinds or where they come from, some of the controversies that can happen, and what to look out for. And this is kind of the ups and downs of what stem cell therapy is about. So I'm going to share my screen here for a moment. And let's first look at what are stem cells. And they are undifferentiated cells. And that's a big word for they don't know what they're going to become yet, basically. And there are different types of these cells, but they have the capacity to become whatever the body needs. So when we're, born and growing up, these stem cells are constantly replacing themselves, and they have created, bones in our liver and our organs, and we're healthy. When we're young, our stem cells are vital and everything is good. If we cut ourselves as children, we heal very quickly, as opposed to when you get older and you cut yourself. The reason it takes longer is because those stem cells are not going to healing. And this is what stem cells do, they're repairing. So that is one thing to look at. Now, there are different types of stem cells. Like I said, there's embryonic, which comes from the embryo, and there are adult cells which are already in the body that are formed once the body is formed and once we're growing. But when people are going to get injections, which I think this is pretty much what everybody is familiar with. You hear about celebrities going out of the country and to Thailand, to Costa Rica, to Panama. People are going to get these injections for beauty and also for joint issues and many, many other things. But in the US, it's still a very small industry. Not a lot of research has gone into it. So other countries are really ahead of the US. But here's what I want to look at. And so that people understand that we have adult stem cells and we have what we call pluripotent stem cells. And I'm going to just quickly go through this so that you understand. The adult stem cells are very limited because they can only become certain parts of our body: the muscle, the skin, the liver, the nerve, and the blood. So let's say if people go and they want to use their own stem cells for injections, there are doctors who will take out stem cells out of your body and re-inject them into another part of your body. And this is actually called PRP, plasma. It's blood. You take the platelets out of the blood and it's plasma enriched, and they inject it back in, plasma rich platelets. So this is one type of stem cell. The pluripotent is the more exciting part of what stem cells are. And this is what I'm going to talk about in a few minutes, about the newer technology. Because pluripotent means they can go anywhere. They're intelligent. Wherever there is a dysfunction, they go there and they start the regeneration and the repair and the rejuvenation. And pluripotent come from the embryonic stem cells. They don't come from the adult stem cells. The adult stem cells do not have that capability. They're what you call multipotent. They have multiple functions like I just showed you, but they're limited. So for instance, people probably don't know that the lining of your intestines is replenished every 4 days. So this happens with stem cells. It's part of that process. So as you're getting older, when the stem cells start to diminish in their productivity, this is where people can start having more challenges in their health. So let me explain something else. So is this clear? Does this make sense?
This makes so much sense. Yes. And I love how you explained the processes. Very easy to see and understand and make the connection to what it is that we often hear is being done in stem cell therapy. So thank you for that.
Right. And what your viewers have probably heard, and what, has been the most common way of doing stem cell injection besides the embryo, and that's the fluid. It's not the actual embryo. It's the around the embryo, the fluid in the sac, is bone marrow. Now, bone marrow is this is a very painful procedure to take the bone marrow out and then inject it in. Taking it out is not fun, very painful. And actually, there's two types of bone marrow, and people may not be aware of this. There is a red bone marrow, which you see in like meat and chicken bones, and you're used to seeing that. We don't really see our own bone marrow. And this is active. That's what they call active and younger bone marrow. As we get older, the bone marrow actually turns kind of a yellowish substance and it becomes inactive. And so it has more fat in it, and it doesn't have the liveness of the cells to regenerate. So that's why they want to pull bone marrow from younger sources.
Interesting.
So that's one thing. Now, the umbilical cord is where the embryonic fluid comes from, and that's the more pluripotent cell. And then there's another part of that that's called amniotic, and this is the best pluripotent. It's kind of in between the umbilical, the embryonic, and the bone marrow, the more adult stem cells. And this is where there's more capability, again, of turning into different cells, like skin and cartilage, even cardiac tissue, nerves, muscles, bone. It has a big variety of organs and tissues it can turn into. And this is also where you probably heard this term mesenchymal. Mesenchymal are stem cells that come from the amniotic fluid. And these cells have been used actually in prenatal diagnostic to see how the fetus is doing. So it's not new, but using it to help in regeneration and help the body repair is new. And this fluid of the amniotic happens after the first 12 days of conception. So it's a very vital and alive fluid, and you have to capture it early on. So I think that gives everybody kind of a background in how it works, or the different paths. And I wanted to show you this. Now, this is kind of interesting, but as in anything, there is controversy. And some of the things that people need to look at is, how are the stem cells cleaned? Where did they come from? What is the source? Because sterilization and cleaning can actually cut down the effectiveness of stem cells. The industry has been unregulated, and there is, like in anything where there's a lot of money to be made, there are people that are coming in and taking advantage and really not offering a good product. And there's a lot of controversy, and people have been arrested and tracked down. So what happens is that doctors, they're busy, but there are certain companies that are growing stem cells. And so they take them from the places that we just talked about, and they grow them in a laboratory and they multiply. But they have to clean them. You have to get the DNA imprint out if it's coming from the embryonic. And there are many different factors that go into it. And so what's happened is that now there are these reps that go out and they give seminars for the doctors, and they say, go to this doctor, we're supplying them with stem cells. And what happens is that they're really not getting what they think they're getting. And I'm not saying across the board all the time, but people have varying degrees of success with stem cells. They're very expensive and they don't always work. And people wonder, well, what happened? Well, in this documentary, one of the points that was brought up, which was, I found just, I couldn't believe that they were actually doing this. They were selling stem cells that were not alive. They were talking about stem cells, and people, of course, thought that they were alive, but the investigators took the product and took it to the lab, and they found out it wasn't alive. And what happened was they went back and they said, well, we never said they were alive. So this is the kind of corruption that is prevalent. And so people need to be careful. And what I am excited about to share with your people here today, and what has really floated my boat for this last year since I've been studying this and actually even using it myself, is that there is an incredible new patented technology that is using light frequencies to actually allow your body to make its own younger pluripotent stem cells.
That is amazing. And something that is actually, just on the little that you said, sounds like a better alternative than any of the other methodologies or therapies.
You're right. I thought that too, because I was actually researching where to go get stem cells, because I knew it was a way to rejuvenate, and I'm all about preventative health care. And I wanted to keep my system younger, because I believe if your body and your tissues and your organs can stay young with stem cells, that's the new technology, then we can live healthier and longer. And then I found out about this technology. So I brought a clip for everybody to see about how this new technology works. So why don't you show that, and then we can just jump into talking about how this works.
Awesome. All right, let me.
Light, an ancient form of energy that goes back to the dawn of time. For us, it all begins with the sun, the source of light and life for our entire solar system. Even Einstein concluded that everything we're made of contains light. All life originates with the sun through photosynthesis. Plants and vegetation collect the light, and all living creatures emit light. Humans actually emit infrared light, which can be seen with night vision devices. We've known for centuries that light has many effects on the body. Lifewave's phototherapy patches use light to stimulate the body's natural healing systems, providing specific health benefits. Here's how the technology works. First, a patch is applied to specific points on the body. Where the patch covers the skin, infrared light emitted from the body is reflected back into the tissue. This stimulates the skin, which in turn stimulates specific regions of the brain. The brain then taps into the body's own natural flow of energy and the ability to heal itself. Let's take a look at why this is important on a cellular level. For example, a number of our patch products help counteract free radicals, oxygen molecules that damage cell proteins and contribute to visible signs of aging. When the body is stimulated through phototherapy to release its own antioxidants, these free radicals are neutralized naturally. Lifewave phototherapy patches.
Wow.
That is so exciting. When I saw that, and see, I think you and probably everyone listening understand that we are light beings. We are made of energy and light. And the future of medicine and regenerative science is using light. And this company, this new revelation, it's a patented product. It took about 10 years for it to develop, and millions of dollars were spent on it. And it is the only one that I'm aware of so far that's able to actually activate your body to make its own younger stem cells just wearing a patch. And let me explain a little bit more about how this works, because as we're aging, you know, I mentioned before, when we're younger, you know, our body heals really easily. Guess what? After the age of 35, we've actually lost about 50% of our ability to make our own stem cells. So this is when the aging process kind of starts. And then at the age of 60, we've lost about 90%. So this is science. And when this is happening, our body, the diseases and the way that our body can heal itself is very diminished. Now, there's another component in our body called GHK Copper Peptide. And I had never heard of it. And, you know, I've had all this past health experience. When I started researching it, it is a master signaling molecule. And actually, when the patch goes on, it elevates this molecule. And together, this molecule and the stem cells start rejuvenating the body. They have different, capacities for like wound healing, or for energy, for sleep, for pain relief, arthritis, all kinds of different conditions come in under how these technologies work together, because the GHK copper peptide is also starts to diminish as you get older. So these are kind of working in tandem together. And another thing to consider, you know, the body is naturally sloughing off cells every day. There's a process called apoptosis, and it is a programmed death of cells. Every day we're losing anywhere from 50 to 70 billion cells. That is a huge amount of cells, and these have to be replaced. So the body can only replace at the level that the body is. So that's why, like, you talk about eating food is good food and good nutrition, because we want to keep our body healthy. So when our cells are replenishing, they're coming in at a healthy place. But guess what? When you have new stem cells happening all the time, these cells that are replenishing are really coming in to be little worker bees to help heal and rejuvenate and repair the body. And with the patch, it's so simple. It looks like this. And you just put it on for 12 hours, and you take it off for 12 hours, and then you put on a new one. And it signals the GHK and the body to start making younger stem cells, the pluripotent stem cells that we talked about in the beginning, the ones that can turn into anything that the body needs. So this whole process that this technology is with light is called photobiomodulation. It's just like going out in the sun and your body makes vitamin D. It's very similar. The infrared light from your body turns on the patch, and the patch signals the body, the brain, and then you've got stem cells starting to happen.
Gotcha. You know, it's amazing how the body processes so much from a natural perspective, using light, using sound, food. And this new technology is something that is non-invasive. It works while you don't even notice it. So it's not like you have to carry around this thing like an oxygen tank and, you know, have all over you. Or, you know, in a lot of instances, there are some sound therapies and energy therapies that are wearable devices. I've never seen anything that has been reduced to the level of the convenience of a patch like you're talking about. And what are some of the stories that you've heard from people who have undergone this kind of therapy?
Oh my God, the stories, I could talk for 2 hours on the stories. I mean, in all my years of being in alternative healthcare, I've never honestly seen a product of any kind cut across so many platforms of health conditions. I mean, I have a friend who's had Parkinson's for 8 years. She could only walk 10 minutes at a time. After 1 month on the patch, she's walking 1.5 miles 3 times a week. I've had a friend with a fractured pelvis, could hardly walk. The doctor told her 8 to 12 weeks. In 3 weeks, she was up with no pain walking around. People with arthritis, with migraines, rotator cuff, knee problems. Knees are a big one. People have diverted operations and knee replacements. Swelling has come down, mobility has come back. Even rheumatoid arthritis. I have a friend in California. She could hardly get up out of a chair. Now she's walking. You know, it's not completely gone, but her scoliosis is better. And sleep, my goodness, it's a big problem in the country. People have deep sleep. They don't wake up like they used to, or if they do, they go right back to sleep. They don't have that, you know, issue of insomnia, osteoporosis. I'm just thinking of some of the, there's so many people that I talk to every day. People are calling me. But what I wanted to do quickly too is show you some pictures of, I know hair is a big thing for people, losing hair, a wound healing. I have some incredible pictures. And also, the patch takes down inflammation, and inflammation is the #1 cause of diseases. And so I have a brain study that shows how the inflammation has actually come down in the brain in a matter of 3 to 6 weeks, which now we have a lot of ex-football players that are using this because they are so whacked up from, you know, pain and trauma. And really many people that have had car accidents and, you know, they have stiffness and they can't move and their brains are all foggy. This helps to bring mental clarity, is a very big result and benefit from this. So I'm going to just share my screen one more time and let me bring up this picture and hope this will be right here. Okay. So this is a man in 1 month. Look at the difference in his hair growth, and the hair color also can change. We've had people that they're going from gray back to their regular color. This is a friend of mine, Beth. She had this condition for over 15 years, and it looks horrible, and just this is after 3 months that this has gone down and it's still healing. This is another one. Somebody had a car injury, and this is in a matter of just 63 days. Look at that healing.
Wow.
This is another wound healing. They had to put the finger back on. And this is in 2 months.
Wow.
This is a woman who, you can see her hairline was receding, and this is after 90 days. You see all this new hair coming in. And guess what? Our animals can wear the patch. It actually helps the animals, and they heal very much more quickly. Let me see if there's anything else here. I think we saw this. This is again how you can apply the patch. Oh, here is the brain study. So this is session 1. This is a 67-year-old man, and they were wearing the patch below the navel. And so the red is inflammation. And look after 6 weeks what that result was. And this is a woman, same age, really bad inflammation. And again, the change after 6 weeks. So all I can say is that this technology, and the technology is patented, it has clinical studies, it's very science-based, which was important for me, you know, because light therapy, this is newer technology. You want to be sure that it's grounded in science.
Yes.
And obviously you can't get a patent if you don't have science.
The science to back it up. You are so right. That is so interesting. And, you know, I want our audience to know that what we are bringing to you here on the Health, Wisdom, and Wealth show is really about what we can learn to make more informed choices around for our lives. It's important to know that there are things like this out in the world that you may not ever come across outside of circumstances and situations like this. Me having the opportunity to meet and talk with BHIMI, it was really amazing how, you know, we even connected. She reached out to me and, you know, asked a couple of questions. I said, I'm curious. And today we are doing even more because I want you to know more about this, just like I want you to know more about the foods that you're eating. Are they healthy? Are they the best for you? Are they the foods that can even support stem cell therapy? If you're going to go through doing something like that, wouldn't you like to know that you're doing the other things that support it? Drinking the right amount of water, getting good sleep like BHIMI talked about, and eating the right foods. I got a message from a friend of mine this morning, actually heartbreaking. She was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And at the time, my initial response was, here are all of the things that I know you love, eat more of them. And now to be able to say, you may want to also check this out, you know, and I am definitely one for expanding people's knowledge base and opportunity to, once again, make those choices for yourself. You know, both BHIMI and I make the disclaimer, we're not doctors. And we'd probably be even more dangerous if we were doctors with this kind of information. But we are people just like you who have an interest and a heart for making life better. If you've got children and you want to see grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and, you know, if you're young enough to start having children and you've experienced some trauma, let's help your body to heal. Eat the right foods, drink the right amount of water, get good sleep, do stem cell therapy to help to bring to life that which we know trauma can destroy tissue. And
yeah, I wanted to say, because, you know, at every level of people's health, people are stressed out and anxious, and, you know, this causes all kinds of inflammation and breakdown in the body. I mean, you've got the family, you've got COVID, you know, there's so much going on.
The husband, the wife, the job, the business, you name it. We are in this space of stress galore.
Right. So when there is a solution, this is what just attracted me. It's like anybody can put on a patch. There's no ingredients in it, so it doesn't have any contraindications. There's nothing that it interferes. If people are on meds, it doesn't interfere with that. And if you have a pacemaker, it doesn't interfere with that. So it's something that just elevates the body to become better. I mean, we are evolving. Our bodies, the science, everything is evolving. To step up, to keep our bodies healthier, you know, we need to understand these new technologies. And some of them, there are a lot out there, just like you said. Some are easier than others, some are more affordable than others. This happens to be all of that.
It does. And I am, you know, there's not a lot of things that I actually endorse publicly. And those things that I do, I, you know, go to the top of the mountain and say, hey, this is it. And here's why. And one of the reasons is because I have had an opportunity to experience this technology. And you can actually see my testimonial when you go to the resources page at the p3academy.com website. And in what it is that this is all about, because many of you know that I had a major injury last January. Talk about starting 2020 with a real traumatic thing happening. And then COVID was like, I broke my wrist in 3 places. I now have a plate and 9 screws. But that was a secondary injury to something that happened to me 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago now. And what I have been honestly searching for is, how can I bring myself back to optimal health? Not what it was 10 years ago, not what it was, 20 years ago, just with who I am now. What does optimal health look like? And I have, in a week's time, experienced less inflammation. I've been diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis when I was 26 years old. Did I understand what that was? No, but as I got older, it was like, oh, and then, you have the desire to do the research and it's, oh, and then, things happen and it's like, oh, and really it was about 3 years ago that I started looking for the alternative methodologies that I might be able to use. I've been an athlete all of my life. I, was a professional fitness instructor for almost 20 years. I was a cyclist and rode 100-mile bike rides, century bike rides, half centuries. I did a couple marathons. I did mini triathlons. And so for me, aging was something that I was wanting to be more curious about. How can not only I get back to good health, but where's my fountain of youth? And I found it in a couple of things. The first thing was eating right. Alkaline foods, no meats, plenty of water, exercise, getting out in nature, meditation. You and I were talking about meditation. How important can meditation be to helping this system work for someone?
That's a great question, because meditation is something that science has proven really helps the body to calm down and to be more alert, more peaceful, more calm. This is what we all want in our lives. So when you're doing your meditation practice, even if it's just for a few minutes a day, or listening to music where you're feeling relaxed and your mind is kind of blank, this is in support of what the physical reality is that's happening inside your body with the patches. Because what the patch is able to do is that it takes down the anxiety and stress and inflammation and brain fog and all these things that are affecting the brain, so that when you're doing your meditation, it's even a more kind of expanded state of experience. And you're able to carry it within you longer. Because if your physical body is changing to release physically the stresses, then what you're doing on a meditation level also is able to anchor in the body in a stronger way.
Awesome. Awesome.
And another point just on these, on the patch, you know, it sounds like, oh my God, how could it do so many things? You know, you think, could this be real? I know I run into a lot of people that are skeptical, you know, and I can tell you that millions of people, you know, it's being sold in over 100 countries, and the company is a 17-year-old company. So it has stability and the science is there. So there's something that has been discovered and now you know about it. So you're educated and you can do your own research and find out about it. And VLYNN has, you know, a place for you to go about it, to look at it on her website. And just know that stem cells are the way of the future for age reversal. We don't even call it anti-aging. We call it age reversal, because if you can replenish your cells with younger cells, and when these younger cells come in and they go over the older cells, they make the older cells young again. So your body feels like you're younger. You're just feeling more vital, more energy, more stamina. We have a ton of athletes that are using it now. Even in the Olympics, they used it and it was okay. They did, there was, you know, they got approved. So it just, stem cells is like the new fountain of youth. Like you said in the beginning, you were looking for the fountain of youth. Well, I believe in all my years that this is one solution to that fountain.
That is awesome. And to our audience, take note. Again, if you go to p3academy.com/resources, you will see about the stem cell therapy on that page. And BHIMI, you know, I love how you mentioned in one of our conversations about the 3 R's and, you know, repair, regeneration, and rejuvenation. Can you explain a little more? I know we've touched on it throughout the conversation, but just explain a little more about how stem cell therapy works to heal and rejuvenate in this process, and kind of connect those dots: repair, regenerate, and rejuvenate.
Okay, that's a great question. So what happens when stem cells, let me just click, are starting to work? The way that it happens is that when they're activated, they are intelligent. So if you have a breakdown, say in the liver, but you also have something going on in your shoulder, or you have you're not sleeping well, it's going to know which one to go to first. And so you may think, oh, I need something, I'm not feeling something here, but actually you're noticing something else that's happening. Like for myself, I had this whole numb spot on my shoulder and I'd totally forgotten about it. And all of a sudden, one day, this tingling started happening. And so my whole shoulder had regenerated and the neuropathy was gone. And I had complete feeling back again. So stem cells will start to regenerate in the body. And that's happening during the day when you wear the patch. Then you take it off at night when your body naturally goes into repair. The body is sleeping, all that energy from the day is repairing, and the body just, when you wake up, people report that they feel so refreshed and they're able to bounce out of bed. They don't need the coffees like they did. And, you know, a lot of people that used to have to roll out of bed because of aches and pains, it's no longer the case. The results of the stiffness and, you know, things that happen with aging are just diminish or disappear, because when the body regenerates, repairs, and rejuvenates, it's like you're getting a new body. It's like putting on a costume, you know, a new body, so to speak. And it's accumulative. So it's something that the more you wear it, the deeper the repair and the restructuring or whatever needs to happen in the body. And something that, you know, people ask, they say, well, do I have to stay using it a lot? Or, you know, what happens if I don't use it? And, you know, it's interesting because we're always growing older, right? And our stem cells are eventually stop working and replicating. So we take different nutrients all the time to keep us healthy. So I look at this technology really as something that, why would I ever want to get off of it? It's growing new stem cells. It's keeping me younger. It's taking away aches and pains. It made my hair grow. It made my digestion. I got off of using enzymes for 25 years because now my digestion is robust. There's so many things that happen and continually happen. And, you know, I can tell your viewers that I'm 71 and my skin has changed dramatically since being on the patch, and it's gotten more hydrated. Lines have diminished. It's tighter, and this has gotten much better. So why would I ever get off?
Oh, yes, I totally agree with you there. So, BHIMI, as we're bringing our conversation to a close, I love everything that you shared. And most importantly, I want our audience to just be mindful that our goal here today was to introduce you to the evolution of technology as it relates to stem cell therapies. And in that introduction, make you aware that there is a new technology, not so new, over 10 years old, that is on the market that you may want to investigate, and we will help you to do that. So,
Wait,
BHIMI,
I wanted to make one correction. That it was in discovery for 10 years, but the technology is only 2 years old.
gotcha.
Okay.
Thank you. You know, and it's important to know these pieces of clarification. We talked about starting that this is going to be a place where truth is spoken. And you need to know the truth. This is newer technology. However, it's been in the works. It's kind of like, you know, for me, realizing that the using food as medicine message is decades old, like 50, 60 years old. Thomas Edison spoke about how the doctors of the future were no longer going to prescribe medication, but actually prescribe natural food remedies. And we are getting back to that. We are getting to that. And there are some prominent doctors, medical doctors, who are actually counseling patients to look to food before they look at the final verdict being surgery. That's more of a last option available. And for me, you know, if I'm going into heart, you know, I've got a heart issue and I'm going into heart surgery, and the surgeon says, well, there's one other thing that you might want to try that could keep you, you know, avoid surgery. I'm going to be, well, what is it? And he says, you know, eat more vegetables, eat more fruits, and here's how and what of the foods. And, you know, am I going to do that or say, no, cut me open and do what you need to do? I'm going to go to the foods, especially when I know that, you know, in a matter of 3 to 6 months, you can unblock a clogged artery 100% with just that change in diet. Whatever you were eating that caused that blocked artery, stop eating that. Eat more green leafy vegetables, more cruciferous vegetables, more fruit. And there's a system of doing that, just like there's a system with this new stem cell therapy technology. Wear the patch during the day, not at night. Let your body go into natural healing state. I mean, all of these things are so important. And back to my question, is there a word of wisdom that you'd like to leave our audience with today?
Oh, first of all, I want to thank you so much for having me. This has been such a joy to share this and know that people, you know, are interested in and are looking for alternatives. And I want to encourage people that there is always an alternative solution. Now, if you break a bone, you need to have it set. That's allopathic. But for 99% of other things that are happening, there are alternatives. And everything that VLYNN has talked about are some of the options, and the new technologies coming out, like this stem cell activation patch, things that increase your collagen, take away inflammation, anti-anxiety. There are things other than meds that you can use, even pain relief. You know, people, I had someone who was taking 8 Aleve a day for pain. Do you know how bad that is for your stomach? She is off everything now from using the patch. And here's what I want you to leave you with. This was a quote by the New England Journal of Medicine, very prestigious. And it said, the #1 indicator for optimal health is the amount of stem cells in the blood. So think about that. How can you increase your stem cells? Injections, expenses, traveling, all that, or simply put a patch on and take it off. So I hope that if you want to find out more, we'll be glad to talk to you. And thank you again so much for having me on.
Well, thank you for coming on and being in this conversation with me. I so appreciate you and all that you've shared with me personally to help me in this journey. I want to be here for great grandchildren, and I'm not quite finished with living my legacy life. And I hope that you in the audience, especially if you're a healthpreneur watching this, you want to learn more. You want to be this legacy gifter and be here to live your legacy versus leave your legacy. We'll all be leaving something in the way of a legacy, but I think it's more fun to live it and be in it as we're doing life. And if you are one of those healthpreneurs, reach out to me. Reach out, ask about this or any other information that you may be an expert in and would like to come on the show and share, and gift our audience with your knowledge and expertise. That's what this is all about. So PM me, message me on Facebook, LinkedIn, email me at VLYNN@p3academy.com. You can get to me right through the website. If you go to the p3academy.com/resources, see the info on the stem cell activation, and let me know if this is a show that you enjoyed and or you want more information about. Put a comment below this video. And if you have questions, if you have an area of interest that you would like for me to address and bring on an expert about, please make a comment below, because we've got some exciting things coming up in future episodes, and we want to know what it is that you're looking for as well. So do us the favor of sharing, help us get the message out. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, be well, live, love, be a bigger positive impact in the world, because you're here now and you can do this. Thank you again, BHIMI. This was awesome.
Thank you. Wonderful to be here.
All right.